Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. I wanted to take a few minutes and do a short video on transferring records electronically through Enrich, otherwise known as the student record transfer. I know some of you have been struggling with it at times and a little frustrated. I did send out screenshots and the procedures, but I thought a video would help us through this process and give you a visual that you can go back and refer to as you're doing it. So if you look on those procedures that I sent out, we're going to focus on receiving records. So the first thing is to obtain the transfer code from the sending district. So once you get that code, you're going to go here to your Profiles tab. And you can see here you'll have an icon up here that says Transferred Records. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click that. And you're going to hit Receive Record. Send record is for when we're actually sending the records and getting a code to send to another district. So we're going to receive the record, and as you can see, it's asking for the transfer number. So you're going to type in that number, which is a 5-letter number. Sometimes it's a number, sometimes it's letters, sometimes it's a combination of both that the district gave you to transfer. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to click Next. And here it's telling you where the records are coming from, just to confirm that you wish to receive the data, and then you're going to click Receive. So what should happen is this should automatically pop up, which it did. You saw once I hit refresh, it showed the actual transfer number and that the records have been transferred. So once we get these records, what we do is we go back to the Programs tab, and we're going to click Start Program, and the program is Special Education, and the item here that you select is Student Record Transfer. So you click that. The transfer date is the date the services will be initiated or the date that you are transferring this information. So I'm going to go ahead and put today's date, and then you click Next. So what happens here is that it is pulling up this student record transfer. As you see on the programs, it is asking you to have this information, the consent to evaluate, eligibility, and the consent for services. So what we can do at this point is just click Save. And we're going to click Close. And then you'll see it'll pop up on your screen like this. What you need to then is go back into your profile, hit Transfer Records again, click on where it says View, and here we can see everything that was transferred from the sending district. So the first thing you can do is accept all tests, and you hit accept. It's only going to transfer tests that we have licenses for. So when you get this, that's okay. Hit close, and then you can go to Files, and you can hit Select All or Accept All, and hit Accept. And it's showing you everything that's going to be accepted. And now you hit Close. Okay, and if you hit that again, you can see if you hit Accept again, it's blank. And that's okay. So now what you do is you can go into your Files tab, and you now can see that all of the files that you just did have actually been accepted into the program. So those are the first steps. Now what you want to do is you want to go back to your programs. And if you notice, I didn't accept any programs yet, even though they were there. I'm going to click Edit Details. This is where it helps, as you can see, to have 2 tabs open on the student, because this information is going to be from the sending district. So you're going to need to either toggle or have 2 screens But you'll go back here, and if you go into files, you'll be able to get that information because those items should be in the files that have been accepted. So the first thing they're asking for is a consent to evaluate. If you don't have the initial consent to evaluate, that's okay, because you can see here, there's one for a consent for reevaluation, and you can use that as well. So you'll click it, open it, and you'll see that meeting happened on March 15th of 2017. So I'll go back into my transfer, and I'll say, yes, consent was granted, and I will do the date that was granted, which was March 2017, March 15th. One of the areas people are getting stuck on is this start date. Don't go back and backdate this start date. Your start date is the day that you start this process. It's important that you don't go back and say, oh, this was done in 2014 or 2017. That's going to mess up future dates in this program. So it's always the start date, the current day that you're doing this. And that's in the directions. So the next thing they're looking for is eligibility determination. So I'm going back to files. I'm looking for eligibility determination. Make sure you open these files and not just this date, because this would be the date that perhaps the item was closed, not necessarily the date that the team met. So you're going to open it. You're going to look for the eligibility date. And it actually looks like that meeting was held on 3/15/2017. You go back to your records. It was held March 15th, 2017. It's asking, now it's saying what disability. So when I look in that, now as you see when you read this, it just says there continued to be a student eligible with a disability. So I'm going to go back into my files. I can either hit the eligibility worksheet information, or I can go ahead right to the last IEP. I can pull that up. And I can clearly see here that the disability is specific learning disability. So I go back to the records, and I put specific learning disability. I select that. Now it's asking for the date of consent of services. I'm going to go back into files and see if that's there. And in this one, it's not. So what we can assume is that the day that they did the eligibility, they also received permission to place. So we'll hit yes, and we'll use that same date, March 15th. Need to change the year, 2017, and then click. The end date, this is the end date that the action is completed. Don't backdate this either. Again, this is going to be the current day that you're doing this data entry. And then you click finalize. It should tell you that there are no problems. You click finalize again. Now I can close the record transfer. And when I add the programs page, we can see the program was started, and it's got a reeval date of 3/14/20, which is correct because eligibility was determined on March 15th of 2017. Where people are running into issues, again, is because they are backdating a program start. So make sure you don't do that. So now the next thing to do is to go back to the profile, go back to transfer records, click on view, and now you can see these are things that have already been accepted. All of the files have been accepted. Now we're going down to the programs. Here's where you need to start accepting things in the order in which they occurred. So this child has information backdating all the way to 2014. I don't need to collect all of that data. Our rule was let's collect at least a year's worth of data. So I'm going to start here with 2016. So the first thing that would have happened in this process, and be mindful of this because these are sometimes not in the order in which they occurred, right? So the first thing that happened here is, let's say we go to 2015, would be a notice of meeting. Obviously, a meeting is going to occur prior to an IEP. So what we're going to do is hit accept. The information is special education, special education. The item is, you scroll down and select, notice of meeting, transfer date. Again, that's the date you accepted the information, and then you click next. It'll pop everything up. You click save, then you click close. Then you have to go back to the profile tab, back to transfer records, click view, scroll down to programs, and start accepting the next item. And you see as you accept things, it shows that it's accepted. So now I'm going to accept the IEP. Again, special education. The item is IEP, and this is a school age one. Make sure you're selecting the right one. Choose the date you're doing it. Hit next. Now it's showing you that data. Then you hit save. Now hit close. Go back to profile, back to transfer records, back to view, scroll down. Now we go to the next item. So there was a notice of meeting, the school at IEP. So it looks like they did an amendment, and it looks like it was for assessments perhaps. So you can accept that because that was after. Special education, amendment cover page. Again, the date that you're doing this, you click next. Click save, close, go back to profile, transfer records, view. Accept the next thing, which is SC Ready assessments. Now that's something you could skip. It's not going to have any bearing in terms of the IEP. So the next thing that I would go to actually would be this notice of meeting. Again, accept, special education. This is another school age IEP, the date that you want to do it, next. And those messages you're getting is asking if you want to really accept this because this is basically an old IEP. And you want to say yes because we want that information. Save. And then here we have an error. So this sometimes happens. So we can hit OK. And let's validate it and see what the error is. So it's showing us we need to enter this information. I'm going to actually try and save this again. Huh. And that did work. So let's hit close. I'm going to go back to profile here. I'm going to do transfer records. I'm going to hit view. Let's see what's happening. Notice of meeting, IEP. And we've got a reeval. So what I think is happening here is that I accepted, what happened here was I didn't accept the notice of meeting prior to the IEP. So let's try that. Accept, special education, notice of meeting. You can see how sometimes when you skip steps, the system doesn't work very well for you. Save, close. And just like you all, I'm human, so mistakes are made. Transfer, view, program. So now I've accepted the meeting. Now let's accept the IEP, education, school age IEP. So now it's telling me, are you sure you want to choose this IEP? The student must be 14 or younger during this kind of IEP. Therefore, the IEP end date will need to be adjusted to 7/1/2009 or earlier in order for it to pass validation. So we can change that date on the IEP. Next. and it's saying the IEP end date. So if I click here, it's going to show me the end date. Says it needs to be 7/1. And now let's hit save. And now we've got it accepted. Now I can go back into profile, transfer records, view, and I can keep going on. So here you see we have a reeval and an eligibility that was done. One was 2016, this says 2017. So the review happened first. And then we have a notice of meeting for 3/15, 3/15. So the first thing, obviously, in the order of this is going to be the reeval review. Scroll down till you get to reevaluation review. Next. Save. Close. Now what happens is you'll see green bars come up saying now it's pending eligibility determination. That's okay. As you continue to accept programs, these will go away. So we'll go back to profile, transfer records, view, eligibility, accept, special education. This is the eligibility determination. The reason it wasn't initial, we know this was a reevaluation. 8:30, next. Save. Close. So now you can see that's gone. Go back to profile, transfer records, view, scroll down. So the next thing that should have happened would have been a notice of meeting. For some reason, there's two in here. So I'm just going to accept one of them. Education. This is a notice of meeting. Today's date. Next. Save. Close. Back to profile. Transfer records. View. So there was that same notice of meeting. I don't need to accept it twice. Now I can accept the IEP. Accept. Accept. This is, now it's a transition IEP. 8:30. Next. So the reason why we got that error, that notice before, is that in the system now this student is over the transition age. So that's why I was asking, do I really want to accept the IEP because she is of transition age? Go back to profile, transfer records, accept. So that IEP was from March 16th, 2017. They had another one in 2018, so I accept the notice of meeting. Notice of meeting, today's date, next, save, close, and then the last thing to accept is going to be the current IEP, transfer, view, scroll down, accept, it's a transition, next. And you can see now you have multiple items: convert, validate, and finalize, save, and close. So we're going to save it. This is a current IEP. I'm going to hit close. And now you see when I click on the programs, there's our current IEP. This is what you'll use when you're doing your, quote, transfer comparable services. What you'll do is you will go in and you will add action. You'll add an amendment cover page, because you are just going to amend this current plan. You're going to fill all this out. I'm just going to save it right now. What you're going to go do is you'll go in and you'll edit the draft. You will fill in the things that are missing. So you don't need to change these dates or anything, but you'll see that there are things missing from the IEP when it's transferred over. So you can just scroll down. You don't need to do contact or any of that. That's going to be done in your own amendment page. So you can see here the first thing you'll need to do is change the schools. This is your amendment or your transfer comparable services right now. So this school is actually youth leadership. The home district is public charter. The home school is obviously our school. You'll put in the grade. I didn't remember what grade this child's in, so I'm going to go back up here and look. She is in 8th grade. So I will put 8. You don't change these dates at all. You can see, as I finalize things, all of these dates that were pulled over were from the information that I accepted from the program. So, you know, her last reeval was March 15, 2017, so it automatically populated that the next eligibility is due in 2020. So these dates are correct. Where we have those issues, as I said before, is because when you're going in and starting that student record, some people are changing the date, and that's interfering with these dates here. Then you'll continue to scroll down. You see present levels, everything, all that information is there. You don't have to enter any of this because it's all there from the sending district. So another area that's blank is our progress reporting. So we do every 9 weeks unless your school does something else. The other area that comes up blank is going to be in the goals if it's instructional, transition related. Instructional, and this is a transition IEP, so we want to make sure we click that as well for each of these. You also, in our district, we do require you to do the progress monitoring, so you want to make sure you input that information. I'm not going to input that information right now, as I'm just doing this for video purposes. We'll let the school do that. Excuse me, accommodations, they don't have any, apparently. So we're going to click no accommodations, no modifications. And then the other area you have to fill out is the services, and I'll let the school do that, but you indicate just like you do in ours where the location, if it's going to be inside or outside the classroom. And then the last area would be your LRE. In this case, you don't change this prior written notice or anything. I'm just going to hit save. But if you were done and you were doing this, you could hit finalize. You would finalize the IEP. You'd have a current IEP in place. It would say view details instead of edit draft. You go in, you put everything in your amendment cover page, excuse me, for the reasons, for the things that you changed. You send home the amendment cover page and a copy of the IEP, and that's your comparable services when you're doing an electronic transfer through Enrich. I'm hoping you found this helpful. If you have any questions as you do this, you know you can reach out to me or Susan, and we can help you through this. But I hope you found this video helpful in terms of just going through the process and the back and forth. I know it's a little bit tedious, but it is what it is, and this is how it's done through Enrich. The other thing I want to mention, obviously anything that we're sharing on the screen is confidential, so this video is not to be shared or forwarded out to other people. It is strictly for our purposes for training. So I hope this helped, and have a great day. And we will talk to you soon.